In today's video, I'm gonna make a cooking pot from clay. I'm gonna take you all the way through the process, from the raw lump of clay all the way to the finished fired cooking pot. And then I'm gonna actually take it into my kitchen and cook in it. So you can not only see the process of making it, but see how it is used and see that it is actually practical for its purpose. All right, let's get started. I've got my clay, which is wild clay that I dug myself, came from here in the Tucson area. I've got a gourd rib. You could substitute this with a rubber rib, for example. I've got a small paring knife for cutting the clay. I've got a bowl of water to keep my clay damp. Now, usually I work with a pookie with a rounded bottom. But in this case, I wanted a pot that appeared rounded, but I need a certain amount of flat surface because I want to set this on my stove. So I went down to the dollar store today and I picked up this little bowl, and it's got a flat bottom, but it's got rounded sides. So I'll be able to make the pot look rounded while keeping the bottom flat enough to set on my burner. Now, because this is plastic, my clay will stick in it real good. So I'm gonna put a damp handkerchief into the bowl first to make sure the clay doesn't stick. I mixed this clay up yesterday and it's quite a bit wetter than I'd like. So I've got the base formed. I'm gonna let this base sit and kind of dry a little bit, and I'm gonna let my clay kind of air out as well. That way they can all kind of firm up a little bit. And then when I come back, hopefully it'll be a little drier, a little easier to work with, and I'll pop this thing upside down and I'll clean up the bottom before I put it back in the pookie and build the rest of it, okay? All right, this is a lot firmer. I'm gonna go ahead and get started working on this. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this upside down out of the pookie, clean up the whole bottom. That way, once I get it built, I'm not gonna have to worry about the bottom. So in this case, you can see there's a little bit of a texture, and then I've got a little bit of a lip along the edge of the pookie that I have to scrape off, and then I've got some places where the cloth folds have caused creases in the clay. So I'm gonna have to deal with all those. I'm gonna use a credit card. It's actually a hotel room card, I think. A couple of considerations I'm keeping in mind because this is a cooking pot is, one, I don't want it to be too tall, too top heavy. I want it to be fairly bottom heavy. I don't want it tipping over when it's on the stove. I think I want to put a rim on it and call that good. I've never made a cooking pot for the stove before. I'm sure if I did this more than once, if I made a series of these, I would figure out exactly what I wanted to do. But I think, for now, I think if I just put a rim on this, or maybe just a lid without a lip, you know, I could build a lid just the way it is. Maybe I'll try that. I've gone ahead and sealed it up. There's literally no hole into the inside. My idea is I'm gonna let this sit and firm up for a little bit, dry up, till the clay is a little less wobbly, and then I'm gonna cut that lid off of there. I think that'll work. I'm playing it by ear, you know. That's how you do it with clay sometimes. All right, I'll come back to this later. Put a piece of cloth over it so it doesn't dry too fast, and come back to see it in an hour or so. There it is. My goal right now is to get this pot out of this pookie because this is a plastic pookie. The top is drying, the bottom is not, because that moisture has nowhere to go. In fact, as I worked, I had to be careful that I didn't let a lot of water settle in the bottom, because all the water that runs to the bottom of that pot stays in the bottom of that pot. So I need to get that out of there as soon as I can so that the bottom can start to air out and dry. Here's a ceramic pookie, and I'm gonna put some cloth in it, some nice soft cloth that won't damage or scratch the bottom. The shoulder on it, I tried not to do that, but I guess I wasn't very successful. It's got such a large lip here that I actually allowed it to lap over that quite a bit without realizing it. So when this is firmed up a little bit, I'm gonna have to do some scraping and then adding some more clay in there just to try to smooth that out. Okay, it is nearly 24 hours later. This has been slowly drying. The pot is about leather hard now. It's ready to do some stone smoothing. I'm gonna use a smooth stone dipped in water and just rub over the whole pot. And that's just gonna smooth it out. This is not the same as polishing. This is not burnishing the pot, not making it shiny. It's too damp to be doing that yet. It's stone smoothing. All right, I got the pot done. It's all dry. It's ready to fire. Here it is. So I'm gonna load it in the kiln now. All right, I got the pot fired yesterday. The pot fired nice and hard, no cracks. We're ready to try cooking in it. Today I'm making split pea soup. It's basically just peas, carrots, onions, and celery with a few herbs and spices. If you're interested, look up the recipe on the internet. There's a million recipes out there. After something less than an hour of cooking, I added some ham to make it more hearty, added salt and pepper, and I was ready to eat it. This talk about earthenware not being usable or practical for everyday life is nonsense. It's good for eating out of, it's good for cooking in. I think this project turned out really well. I made the whole pot from a lump of clay to using it in my kitchen in about 3 days. If you'd like to learn more about sealing and using earthenware for cooking and eating, check out this video over here, which is gonna go into a lot more depth in the usability of earthenware. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.
There'll be new ways. This is not the end.